What's up, guys? Steve with the MMA Minute here, and today we have another edition of the Early Line Movers Report. This is the show where we track early line movement, we look at the betting splits, we try to get on the right side early to get as much value as possible, and today we are looking at UFC 294, which should be a great pay-per-view card, great main event, great co-main event that will definitely carry this one. But before we get into it, guys, I have an all-inclusive tool, premium content. You'll find the link in the description, but on my Patreon, you'll have access to the early line movement tracker, which I'll be tracking these lines throughout the week. You'll have access to my full card predictions, confidence levels, fight notes, best bets. I have post weigh-in notes, DFS content, and a lot more. So make sure to check that out. And it's all a very affordable price as well. Right on my Patreon, link is going to be in the description. And we can get right into it, guys. I'll make the screen a little bit bigger here. But first fight, Magomedov taking on Silva. Magomedov opened -200. Silva +165. This line hasn't really moved just yet, but I do imagine Magomedov is going to get absolutely steamed because this guy is a hype machine. And I think once people start to get a whiff of that hype, they're going to jump on this one, especially as the week goes on. So haven't seen the line move just yet, but it will eventually. Right now, we look at the betting splits. Magomedov, 87% of the public, 88% of the money. So people firmly believe he's going to win this fight. I'm personally probably going to back Magomedov here, but if that line gets into like -300 territory, I don't think it becomes playable for a guy making his UFC debut. Next fight, Dudakova taking on Frey. Dudakova opened -275. Frey opened +200. Money flying in on Dudakova. She is now -395. Frey is +310. We look at the betting splits here, and they agree. 93% of the public, 93% of the money is on the Dudakova side, and really not much that Frey's going to offer here. I think Dudakova is just going to completely dominate this fight. She has a very good ground game. Striking's not all that there. I'm throwing the fraud alert at some point on her, but I don't think it's going to be against Frey. So Dudakova is almost unplayable right now. You could probably throw in a couple parlays, but I would advise not to. Nathaniel Wood opened -275, taking on Naimov, who was +200. We see Wood going up a little bit. People are putting money on him. He's now -300. Naimov is +240 as the underdog. I think personally this is going to be Nathaniel Wood all day. I think he's pretty much better everywhere. Nathaniel Wood has just really transformed his game where he has very good striking. He has mixed in the wrestling. The durability seems to be there. The cardio is there. I think he's definitely going to win this fight. If we take a look at the betting splits, a little bit sketchy here. 76% of the public is throwing money on Nathaniel Wood, but 53% of the handle is only on Wood. So people are seeing Naimov as a pretty solid underdog. Personally, I don't like it. Maybe the price tag is a little high on Wood, but you know, he has a knack for keeping fights pretty close. But again, I think Nathaniel Wood is going to win this one, but Naimov seems like the handle. Some people are throwing some big money his way. Breeden taking on Jubli. Breeden +275 at open. Jubli -400. Money is continuing to come in on the Jubli side. I have him at -410 right now, +320 for Breeden, but I've seen it even go higher. I think Breeden is like +330, +340. Jubli getting up to -425. So people are loving Jubli. The betting splits are going to agree. Jubli, 92% of the public, 96% of the money. So people are hammering him. And personally, I get it. He looks pretty solid, but he's been facing a low level of competition. Breeden hasn't picked up a win yet in the UFC, lost Dana White's Contender Series as well. So I think people are quick to fade him, but I don't think Breeden is all that bad. It's just really the durability is a little bit questionable, but he's facing killers. You know, Alexander Hernandez, he goes out there, gets finished by Terrence McKinney, went to decision with Natan Levy. So I think we need to at least account for that a little bit. I'm personally going to throw a little bit of money on the Breeden side. I think the line is just way too big here on a guy in Jubli who just hasn't faced a high level of competition. Yeah, he could probably steamroll Breeden, but I think it's at least worth a sprinkle on the Breeden side, in my opinion. But pretty much everything goes against that. People are throwing money on Jubli. The line is moving. The public is backing him. So we'll see. Azaitar taking on Dumas. Azaitar +150 at open. Dumas -175. That line slightly adjusting a bit. Azaitar getting a little bit of money. He's down to +140. Dumas -170. This is a train wreck. This is a terrible fight. Both guys are probably not even UFC level. SD Dumas has not impressed in the UFC so far. He did have a lot of hype at one point. I don't see it with him. Azaitar is 37 years old, doesn't have good cardio. Durability is a little bit questionable. So I probably lean Dumas in this one, but I can't really say that I'm too excited about it. If anything, this is probably just a dog or pass situation, but betting split wise, people do like the Dumas side. We're seeing 61% of the public, 83% of the money. So people are definitely throwing money on SD Dumas here, but I think you just completely stay away from this one, in my opinion. But if anything, dog or pass, because Dumas does not look good. Basharat taking on Henry. Basharat minus 400, Henry plus 275 at open. Money coming in on the Basharat side. No surprise there. He's now minus 410. I think I've seen it even further up to like minus 425 on him. Henry back on like plus 320, plus 330. So betting split wise, we definitely see some agreement there. People are hammering Basharat. He's definitely going to be a massive parlay piece in this one. Javid Basharat, 95% of the public, 95% of the handle. You know, Victor Henry is a durable, well-rounded fighter, but I think Basharat is just going to be better everywhere. And obviously he's going to have a big age gap difference here, where Basharat's the much younger guy. So Basharat probably should just win by decision pretty easily. So not really much you can do there, but Basharat's going to be a big parlay piece, and I can't say I disagree. Yahya taking on Peak. Yahya open minus 160, Peak open plus 130. This is some of the biggest line movement that we have seen on the entire card. Peak is now the minus 120 favorite. Yahya the plus 100 underdog. And I threw money on Peak as soon as I saw this starting to creep the other way. Started watching the tape. Yahya is unproven, facing a low level of competition, and he has been finished 3 times already. And Peak is the epitome of violence. So I think at least close to a pick'em, you got to go with Trevor Peak, who has at least a win in the UFC so far. So I like the Peak side, but if this starts to creep a little bit further, if it gets into like minus 150, minus 160 territory, then maybe you look the Yahya way. But I think you definitely play violence in this spot. You look at the under, and people definitely like Peak. So 62% of the public, 82% of the handle on Peak. That's good, healthy line movement that we like to see. So get on Peak now while you can. Elliott taking on Mokaev. Elliott open plus 400. Mokaev open minus 650. Huge. This is classic Mokaev. People love this guy. He's super young. He is a bright prospect. He's already in the rankings. But money is coming in on the Tim Elliott side. Plus 370 for Tim Elliott. Minus 485 for Mokaev right now. And that's fine with me. I think Mokaev gets too big of a price tag. And Tim Elliott is going to be the first real test that Mokaev has faced. Elliott pushes an insane pace. He's very awkward to handle. He's got a good wrestling game. So I think Mokaev is probably the right side, but at these odds, I'm staying away. And if anything, maybe throw a tiny bit on Elliott money line, because he will fight for your money. He might get finished. He's been submitted a whole bunch of times, but he will fight for your money. Elliott, or I should say Mokaev, 89% of the public, 92% of the handle. So people, again, classic Mokaev, they are loving him. Next up, Saeed Nurmagomedov, no relation to Khabib, taking on Gafurov. Saeed open minus 200, Gafurov plus 165. A little bit of money going Saeed's way, minus 220 now for him. Gafurov is now plus 180. I agree with that. I think Saeed's the correct side here. Right now, he's getting 96% of the public, maybe because people just see Nurmagomedov and they just throw money on him and they see a playable line at minus 220. But 93% of the handles there as well. So I think that's all well and good. Saeed has shown to be very good in the UFC so far. Can be a little bit hesitant to a fault sometimes, but overall, very good on the feet, underrated wrestling, very good submission game that we see is very sneaky, and I just haven't been impressed with Gafurov. So Saeed makes sense to me. Aliskerov taking on Alves. Aliskerov opened minus 400, Alves plus 325. I have on here that Aliskerov is minus 395 right now. Alves is plus 310, but that has gone further on Aliskerov's side. He's close to minus 500 now, and I think that makes total sense. You look at the betting splits right now. Aliskerov, 96% of the public, 97% of the money. This is a chalky card. People love the big favorites here. Alves is on short notice, not very durable, even at 32 years old, but he's just taken a ton of damage throughout his career, and he's going up to 185. So there's a lot of negatives on Alves here, and I think Aliskerov, you know, you got to play Alves round 1. That's where he is most dangerous. Aliskerov easily could get finished. I don't think his defense is all that good, but overall, he should take over as the fight goes on. And I'll be looking at the under in this fight, definitely betting violence, and probably Aliskerov. Probably by decision is the way that I'm going to play it. But Aliskerov feels like the right side. He's getting to a unplayable price, close to -500, but that's what we're going to see here. A lot of these favorites are going to get steamed. Next up, Ankalev taking on Walker. Ankalev open -440. Walker open +340. Money coming in on the Johnny Walker side. Ankalev down to -340. Walker down, or I should say up to +270. So people are seeing some decent underdog value in Johnny Walker, and I don't disagree with that. Overall, we're seeing 72% of the public on Ankalev, 66% of the handle, the money is on Ankalev. So people are definitely throwing a little bit on Johnny Walker, but that's because Johnny Walker is just he's explosive. He has a massive finishing upside. He's 6'6". He always has a reach edge. Pretty much good wherever the fight goes. But Ankalev, to me personally, I think he's the best 205er on the roster. I think he should be the champion right now. I think his striking is very good. It's very effective. It's very defensive. But if he's able to mix in the wrestling, we saw it against Jan Blachowicz. As soon as he mixes in the wrestling, that's where he's going to win this fight. I don't think Walker is going to have an answer personally. So as long as Ankalev sticks to the game plan, does the right things, he should get the job done. If you want to play Johnny Walker, I'd probably do it now because you're seeing money start to go his way. And if you like Ankalev, maybe wait a little bit. You're going to get maybe more value as the fight week goes on. So co-main event, Kamaru Usman taking on Chimaev. Usman open +170. Chimaev open -200. Money coming in the Chimaev way, -280 for him, +225 for Usman. If we take a look at the betting splits, 48% of the public is on Chimaev, which is kind of shocking to be honest. And then 58% of that money is on Chimaev. So that's healthy. We like to see that when the handle is greater than the public bets. That's a good sign. The line movement is going Chimaev's way. I think Chimaev wins this fight. Usman taking it on short notice. He's 35 years old, maybe even 36 at this point, battling knee injuries. We've seen him now on a 2-fight losing streak for the first time in his career, and he's going into enemy territory here, up a weight class. Like I just don't see it for Kamaru Usman. If this was a 5-round fight, full fight camp, maybe a couple years ago, I'd back Usman without a doubt, but Chimaev is just going to push an insane pace. So personally, I like Chimaev, and I like inside the distance. And that brings us to the main event. Islam taking on Volk in the rematch. Islam open -290. Volkanovski open +215. Money coming in on Volk's side here. He is now +205. Islam down to -250. If we take a look at the betting splits, we are going to see that we have 69% of the public backing Volkanovski. Not surprising there. Only 55% of the handle. So I do think Islam is going to be the correct side here. I think people just blindly throw money on Volk because he is pound for pound one of the best fighters. They think that he won the first fight. Personally, I thought Islam won the fight. I think that was going to be peak Volkanovski because that was in his home territory with a full fight camp. And he put on a good performance, but now we're getting Islam, and Volk's on short notice, of course. Islam in his home territory. He's on a full fight camp. I think Islam is going to win this fight. Again, I think the under could be an interesting play, but overall, I think Islam gets the job done, -250. Hey, if people want to keep backing Volk, I will gladly take Islam in a couple parlays. And that's just how I see it. I think Islam wins the fight. So that is the early line movement report for UFC 294. Make sure to check out all of our content. We're going to be throwing out a ton of stuff this week. I'll have my full card predictions. I'll be going live on Wednesday, talking about those in more detail. Along with some of my best bets. We have a DFS show on Thursday. We have the post-weigh-in show on Friday. So it is going to be a very busy fight week, and should be a good card. So make sure to tune in, and we will see you guys next time.